Come back on camera if you'd like to join us on camera. We'd love to see your faces. We are looking forward to some interaction and engagement this morning. We're just waiting for the live stream to start, and I believe that it has. Nicole, if you double check that for me, please. It looks like it has started on my end. All right. Good morning, and welcome to Monday Morning Business Foreplay. So excited to have everybody here with us today. And I'm not sure where Nicole went. There she is. Welcome, Mike. So excited to have you with us. Please come on, Mike. There you are. Come on, Mike.
Hey, Colleen, how are you?
I am well. Excited to have you here with us today. I am assuming that you will be sharing your screen, and do you want to let everybody know when you want them to interact, or do you just want to leave it open floor? How do you want to do this?
They'll know. They did plenty of cues. There will be a screen share, but this is not going to be a love fest between me and my slides. I am getting a pop-up that says unstable connection. I might have to move to the living room. Better lighting, but I'm going to be a little shaky. So let me know if my connection's a little bit choppy, and I'll make the move in no time flat.
Okay, absolutely. So, Mike, today we are going to dive into how to convert our audience through storytelling. This seems maybe on the surface like a really basic thing, but for me, it wasn't. Like I did not know this until last fall. And I actually went through a storytelling coach and learned how to tell my story and share my story. Part of the reason I didn't understand that is because I have been building brick and mortar businesses for the past 35 years. And in brick and mortar businesses, the story doesn't necessarily need told. It's more about the product you have, the service you're providing right then and there in your business. And so coming online, storytelling is actually golden. I'm excited to jump into this with you. Mike, I want to invite everybody else to please feel free to use the chat. I do not save it. I do not redistribute it, but feel free to share your information in the chat with everybody. And then please do not spam the list, but make sure that you save it yourself. All righty, Mr. Mike, we're going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, I want to start off with some technical advice here before I wax poetic about telling stories. Once you copy the chat, you run it through Chat GPT, it'll make a nice list for you of names, contacts, type of work they do. That's great. Before we get into the storytelling of what I do, just want to make sure I give you something technical and something practical.
Awesome. I love that.
I hope you had an awesome Mother's Day. And now if you're fortunate enough to have that woman in your life, today is a chance to atone for how much you disappointed her yesterday. But here we go. Listen, as you can tell, that's what I do. I have this circle behind me, not to boast what I do, but because a feng shui person told me, you need a golden circle on that wall. I said,
hey, Mike, we do not have you coming in. You are cutting out. We can't even I can't understand you at all. Do you want to go ahead and
just a
take
thing. I'm going to move to the living room. I'm
Please.
taking this to the living room. That's why I'm filibustering at the beginning.
Okay, so
watch this in real
welcome to
time.
Monday Morning
And this
Business
is a
Foreplay.
good.
It's a journey. We're going to go on into the living room now. You never know when you're dealing with text,
Yes.
what happens. So, yeah, go ahead and
Yeah.
get moved, Mike. You're just fine. And everybody else, good to have you here with us. I will take a minute and let you know that this Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, I will be hosting my Set It to Serve Them masterclass. And what that does is it teaches you how to set your automations, what automations are truly necessary, the first three crucial automations you need to have set up in your business, and how to set those up. That will be You can find the link to that on my LinkedIn profile. I think I have sent everybody a request, and I will also drop the link here in the chat or have Nicole drop that for you. Mike, you look like you're back. Almost back. You can also join us inside Voice Lab. One of the things that we've invited Mike to do, and I think he's going to take us up on that, is to host a masterclass inside the Voice Lab School Group. The Voice Lab School Group is a great place to go if you're ready to get seen, get heard, and really grow your business in 2026. So we have a great platform there. We have a master class almost every week. Invites lots of fun people to come share their expertise with you and really teach you how to grow your business in 2026. Are you ready, Mike?
How am I coming in now? Pretty good? Not bad? Okay.
So much better. Thank you.
Okay, I'm right next to the router and I have actual natural sunlight. I just don't have my speaking coach certification circle-y thingy behind me.
That's okay. We're just happy to have you here with us.
All right, are we live? We ready to go?
We're ready.
Outstanding. Okay, well, it's great to see everybody. I'll put this in gallery modes. I'm looking out at a group of, now here under the premise, not the assumption, never the assumption, but under the premise that you are running your own business, your own solo operation. And that means you've got to be the face and voice of your business. A lot of services that you can delegate. Your digital marketing, your bookkeeping, I definitely recommend that. But you cannot delegate your messaging. You can't hire some PR firm or celebrity endorsement. You have got to be the movie star. And that is the role of speaking and storytelling and what we are doing. We're also under the premise, not the assumption, never the assumption, that for you to be running your own business, something terrible happened in your professional life, maybe even your personal life, where having a job is no longer an option. Remember the good old days, the guaranteed paycheck, the benefits, the paid vacation, the office with the fully stocked vending machine? Not anymore, not for you and not for me. The only option we had left was to jump out of the airplane and figure out how the parachute works on the way down. And that is the life of a solopreneur. Now, here's a question for you. That story of what happened and how you got to this point, do you think that story is relevant to promoting your business, to establishing credibility for who you are and why you stand out as a leader in your industry and why it's a personal passion of yours? I would certainly hope so. That's why we're here. If you tell it the right way. And so many people are not quite getting it. They're squandering that opportunity to tell that story. And this is what most people do. Okay, I'm showing you this not to shame anybody, but to let you know. As much as I love sticking it to big mouth egomaniacs, I'm doing it as not to shame anybody, but to show you I see a lot of good-hearted, well-intentioned solopreneurs who are being bullied out of their own businesses by a lot of big mouths who just want to say, hey, look, it's me. Damn, I'm good. And I come from the fitness industry, and I'm just a little bit sick and tired of people leading off their presentations with their bikini pics and their Speedo pics and saying, hey, but not only am I just a handsome devil, but look at all these great credentials I bring. I'm good, I'm great, I'm handsome, I'm super cool, and I'm a 3-time finalist at Mr. Albuquerque. Got snubbed last time. It was the lighting. But beyond the self-congratulations, we also see a lot of inflated credentials. Now, books are great. I love books. I love actual physical books. I'm tired of staring at a digital screen, unless it's cool people like you here. But usually we see, I am a best-selling author. And if you are, good for you. If you wrote the book. Unfortunately, most of the time, people claim to be a best-selling author. Nobody's ever read the book. Not only that, I didn't write the book. I hired a ghostwriter, and that ghostwriter used AI. It wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to be put on a bookshelf behind me to say, hey, look, damn, I'm good. Here's something you need to know. And this is not to diminish anybody who's done this, but to let you know you're not taking a back seat to people like this. And that's that 100 in the hour that we spend together, Another 16,000 books are going to make the Amazon 100 list. 100 books in 160 categories every single hour. So if you've written a book, the fact that you wrote it, the fact that you sold it means nothing. Did the stories in that book connect? That's what I want to know. What's more important, the fact that you wrote it or what's in it? And the same goes for people who claim to be renowned public speakers. You ever see this guy right here? There is a place for TED Talks, but I see too many people doing a TEDx talk just to say that they did it. To stand on a red dot, probably some bath mat that they bought on clearance at Bed Bath & Beyond, 2 rows of folding chairs to get a token applause to say, I did that. They spend upwards of $10,000 to get on that stage between coaching and everything else, and then they walk away and pretend it never happened. So if you're running a business and you're thinking, what do I need to do to get ahead? Do I need to write a book and do a TED Talk? No. Are you impressed by all that? Not anymore. Not after today. The only credential that matters, and I'm going to stop my share when I say this, the only credential that matters is your genuine concern for your audience. It's the only thing that matters. And how do you do that? How do you demonstrate that? By virtue signaling? By being a televangelist from back in the 1980s? I care about you, and I want you to succeed. Now, I do care about you, and I do want you to succeed. You came here on a Monday morning, or if you're in over across the pond, Monday afternoon. Either way, you spent that time with me, and I appreciate it. It's not enough to say that. What we need to do is establish good stories and tell them the right way. And here is what you are going to get today. Number one, selecting the right stories for your audience. We're going to go through that portion pretty quickly today. I'm encouraging you to take notes. I used to do this with a fillable PDF, but my hard drive is full of so many PDFs I'm never going to look at again. You take notes, you write it down, hand to paper, you will remember it, you will retain it, you will use it.
I
We're going to
love that,
select.
Mike. I will say, I want to interject here too that we will post the replay and we'll share
Excellent.
it around as well. And you are welcome to take that and plug it in somewhere and get a transcription as well.
Outstanding. Thanks, Colleen. Awesome. So once you select the right stories, and then you go back and watch the replay to make sure you have the right stories, we're also going to use a very special technique and tactic to add urgency for your audience. And the best part about it is I have a physical prop. I left it in the other room, so you get to watch me scramble and scamper and go catch, grab it, and see if I'm not a little bit out of breath when I come back and get it. And then there's one more technique to turn the focus onto your audience, and that is the key. It's not what you say, it's what they hear. It's not what you share, it's what they receive. And that's why stories are so important. Every time you speak, you're there to teach people what you know, not in a way to establish yourself as superior, but to enable them to learn, to lead them through their own learning process through stories. And here's a list of stories that need to be in what's called a story file. Again, in the other room that doesn't have very good Wi-Fi, I have a notebook with a list of stories. Some of them are fully developed, some of them not ready yet. It's always a work in progress. Now, why somebody's handwriting next to a typewriter, I don't know, but I paid $3 for the image on Shutterstock, so I'm using it. Here's a modest success story. Listen, if you climbed Mount Everest and Mount Olympus on the same day, and okay, good for you. You don't want to lead with that. A modest success. You winning the school spelling bee in 1988 goes a whole lot further than some of the more impactful things I've done. Because you're not boasting. You're recognizing that our successes are fleeting. The gratitude story, and I'm going to share one of these stories with you. Not all of them. We don't have time for that. No audience has time for all of these. Here's one I do want to drill on a little bit a misconception. Something you used to believe. I'm going to type this in the chat and I'm going to encourage you to do the same. Okay. I used to believe.
Everybody jump to the chat.
I used to believe this, but now I realize that. When you speak to an audience, if you come out and say, well, let me tell you how brilliant I am. Let me tell you how much I know. Let me tell you, what is that going to do for your audience? You're going to say, oh, wow, you're so much better than I am. Is that going to work? What's going to work is when you don't talk down, you get down. There you go, Colleen. We used to think the more the more I can handle, the more powerful I am. Well, really, you're just weighing yourself down. Exactly. There's got yes, Kale, right? Holly with her health
Love
folk.
that about kale. That's great. My chickens love kale.
Yeah, well, it's good for chickens, but there's apparently something about the toxins. And it's a funny thing, you know, in the health business, we used to think the greener it is, the healthier it is. Turns out some of these plants hold toxins, and when they release in the body, you might as well have yourself a Dr. Pepper. We'll talk to Hale about that. Her links are in the chat several times, as a matter of fact.
Go ahead.
Are you willing to humble yourself in front of your audience? Because too many people are not. Too many people are not willing to show their vulnerabilities. Too many people are willing to just, all they want to say is, I've always had the answers. I'm so good. I'm so great. And I'm a 3-time finalist at Mr. Albuquerque. Do you have a story? I used to believe this, but now I realize that. In the speech coaching business, I used to believe my ideal client is an experienced speaker who wants a little tune-up. Turns out that's not my target audience. Good God, who needs Zoom bombers with memes like that there, Nicole? All right, moving along. Well, anyway, moving along. Pay homage to somebody who sets a good example, and also pay homage to somebody who sets a bad example. I always say the best example is a bad example.
I love this modest sharing and modest success because I think that that really just makes you relatable.
You got that right. Would you like to hear a modest success story, Colleen?
I do. Tell me. Yes.
Okay, right about this time, I was going to tell my Thanksgiving story, but it's not very timely. So I'll tell you my spelling bee story. Because right about now, the Scripps Howard National Spelling Bee is, I believe it's underway. Not today, but in this time of year. Back in 1988, I was competing in the school spelling bee. 2 students from each of the 3 classes got to compete in the cafeteria, 6 across. I made it to the top 6. I'm here to say that persistence pays. Persistence with an E, because I spelled that word to eliminate somebody from Mr. Monaco's class. So now it was down to 2 of us, the top 2, myself and Olivia, who was also a classmate of mine. Now, not only was she smart, she's the one who convinced me that maybe hanging out with girls isn't such a bad thing. She's so elegant. She was also a ballet dancer. Every year I went to my sister's dance recital and she was doing ballet. So I knew it wasn't stage fright. She had the poise, she had the smarts, but it was down to the 2 of us. And she got the word spell phonics. Are you kidding me? You gave her, that's the easiest word. What luck. And she says phonics, Phoni. She looked over at me. X. Yes! That's right. I am the 1988 Schwarting Elementary School Spelling Bee champion. But that's not the lesson. Why did she do it? Why did Olivia torpedo herself? Why does she self-sabotage? Because she didn't want the attention. She didn't want the accolades. She was fine dancing ballet in a number with a group of people, but she didn't want to focus on herself. She had that luxury. You don't. Hooked on phonics better work for you. Now, yeah, I get to boast winning the school spelling bee, but the real lesson is you have to step up even if you don't want the attention if you're in business. And that's why we step up in story form. And that's the lesson. There's a modest success, carries it's very innocent. It doesn't put me above you, the fact that I won the school spelling bee, although I came in second in the region. Here's another story. If I had spelled this one word right, I would have won the region. The word was humidor. I didn't know anything about cigars, so I just spelled it Humador. It was wrong. Rachel Sperling spelled that word right. Then the word omissable, I was then omitted from the contest. Here's the lesson. If I had asked for a definition, I would have won the contest. A room meant to keep cigars humid. Always get a definition. Now, if you're on my mailing list, you got my mailer last night or this morning. The advice from my mother, you don't give information, you get information. If I had heeded that lesson back in 1988, I would have won the regional spelling bee, gone on. I could have gone to Washington, D.C. to spell things in front of Nancy Reagan. But I lost because I didn't ask for a definition. I didn't get more information. And then another incident many years later, long after serving in the Marine Corps and being a tough guy, I'm at my parents' house. I answered the phone. Somebody asked for information. I started giving it. She yanked the phone out of my hand, hung it up, and said, "You don't give information, you get information." That was the homage to my mom for Mother's Day. Pretty deep lesson for a spelling bee, right? It's a whole lot better than I was climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and we were running low on beef jerky. Nobody wants to hear that story. Nobody wants to hear you talk about your own awesomeness. But you bring up something modest, and that's cool. So I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to put that slide back up. And while you marvel over it, I'm going to run into the next room and get my prop.
Okay, just make sure you come back on camera so we can see you breathing heavy.
I'm on it. I didn't
Okay,
even tell you how many
go.
marathons I've run. I'll be back.
All right. So if you have not dropped in the chat what he had asked us to drop, which was finishing that sentence, then let's go ahead and drop that. I used to believe, and then, but now I realize. So if you haven't dropped that, I'd love to see it in the chat just so that I can read it for curiosity's sake. I know for me, it's like I used to believe that as a CEO of my business, I had to do everything if I wanted it done right. And now I know that I can automate and delegate and get further ahead. So if you haven't dropped that in the chat, please drop it in the chat. I'd love to have that just to read for my own entertainment. He's
Oh.
back and he's not even sweating. Hi, Mike.
I'm a distance runner. I'm not a sprinter. That was rough agility drills. I will say this, Colleen, that goes deeper. If you can choose one specific task that you were doing that was causing you a lot of grief and tell me the time you finally let go and told somebody, okay, Nicole, oh, somebody do it for me. That moment is when you say, ah, and then I saw the
Oh,
light and then I moved to Missouri and started raising chickens.
there we go. Yeah,
By the
let's
way,
talk about that would be just delegating.
yeah.
I quit doing all the I actually I'm a full-fledged quitter. When I quit pricing inventory, I quit putting inventory out, I quit placing all the orders, I quit packaging and shipping. I actually just hired a full team and I went all out on just building relationships. My job was, "Hey ladies, welcome to Chicken Lips." And I would go build relationships with my clients. That was a big switch for me.
Congratulations on that, Colleen. I would recommend when telling the story, tell me one task and only one task because it's
Okay.
not about delegating to others. It's about trusting yourself. So let's focus on that first time. And then when I saw the light, and then you can just fire, you just shotgun and this and that and the other thing. We can put that in, and that's where the conflict comes from, which is the next thing-a-ding. By the way, if you don't know much about Colleen, I can sum up her professional life in one word, one line. Ready? Dun, 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 dun. Nicole's like, I never thought of that. Okay. Okay. When we're talking about this, what is your extraordinary story? Extraordinary story is something that seems normal, seems ordinary, but it makes a big difference. One of my stories is the guacamole story, but you don't get the whole story because I told you my spelling bee story, and this is not all about me. I'll just say this. I figured out a better way to make guacamole. It's the one time where I can say I figured it out. Usually somebody has to teach you. That's my extraordinary story. An ordinary story about making guacamole, we made it extraordinary. But I do want to get to what we call the 3 levels of conflict. And hey, look at that. That's a picture of my prop. And here's the prop right here. So let's put it down. All right. What do you know about this? Looking at this, where do you think I live currently? Somos libres, seamos. Anybody recognize the flag? Okay, this is the Peruvian flag. I live here in Lima, Peru. Although I come from the mean streets of Massapequa, New York. You see a boat. What movie do you think of with a boat kind of just floating across the ocean? Think about a movie about a
Pirates
boat.
of the Caribbean.
I said the ocean, not the Caribbean Sea.
Titanic.
There you go. Thanks, Holly. Good. I think about Pirates of the Caribbean. Okay, I'll think about that. I guess they do look like a couple of pirates, right? Yeah. The ship that went across the Titanic was a little more, substantial than this, but this is Titicaca, across Lake Titicaca. What is the initial conflict in that story? In Titanic, what's the initial conflict? Hold on, I have to go get another prop. Luckily, I'm near my kitchen. I'll be right back while you think about it.
All righty, Nicole, why don't you take a minute and tell us about your...
I'm back. Okay, here's the initial conflict of Titanic. What is the initial conflict? The Titanic? Oops.
Hidden
I
iceberg.
Going with the iceberg.
The iceberg. I went and grabbed a bag of ice. Now my hands are numb. I'm going to put this in my lap. That's not going to end well. Okay. The initial conflict is that the Titanic hits the iceberg. But then what? Then what? A bunch of helicopters come and get them out of there? There were no helicopters. It was 1912. What is the real conflict? When the Titanic begins to sink. Oh, they built the ship Titanic to sail the ocean blue. All the people said that the water will go through. Now we have a sense of urgency. We need to get off the boat or bad things are going to happen. In your story, you want to tell people about that initial inconvenience. Something went wrong, but then there needs to be an elevated conflict. Okay, I told you I didn't know how to spell humidor. What do? If I had, the fact that I didn't ask for a definition, okay, now there's an elevated, I don't know what a humidor is. You gotta raise, that's a spelling bee. But in your story, you got to raise the tension. There's got to be a sense of urgency that says, John, Colleen, Lil, you are not leaving this stage until we resolve this conflict. In this case, the ship is sinking. And that is in your story. And you don't have to type this in the chat because it might take a while, but I would encourage you to write a few notes down. What is the elevated conflict in your story? But there's a third level of conflict. And I always say conflict, more conflict, your conflict. And that is the internal reflection of the story. And that is the real conflict because nobody can possibly understand the specific nuances of your situation, but they can understand the emotional impact. For 85 years, we cared more about the ship than the people on it until that movie came out. Suddenly we care about Jack and Rose, or since this is Peru, Joaquin and Rosita, the love story. Now raise your hand if you've ever been on a transatlantic ocean liner that crashed into an iceberg and sank in the frigid waters. Anybody? I asked that question one time and somebody actually raised her hand. Couldn't believe it. But the love story, the sense of sacrifice, the class division, that's something real. I mean, I've never seen the movie. Rumor has it doesn't end well. A lot of people cried. I cried when I found out that DiCaprio turned down the role of Anakin Skywalker, ruined what could have been an amazing set of prequels. So I'm going to put that in the chat. I encourage you to write it down. It's conflict, more conflict, and your conflict.
I think Hallie's ahead of you on that. She is taking copious notes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Star Wars, right? That has its own conflict. Well, each one. How many Death Stars are we going to blow up? The Unsinkable Molly Brown or A Night to Remember. Remember, Affair to Remember, but A Night to Remember? I'll check it
Night to
out.
Remember's an old movie, and boy, did you focus on the people, not the boat. It was actually the
Oh,
most incredible film, far better than Titanic will ever be.
well,
Just
thanks.
just saying.
Well, I doubt it had the same special effects, but you're probably right, Lil. Movies are all about special effects, and that's a good point you make, because movies today are all about dinosaurs and lasers and robots and spaceships. We don't have good dialogue. We don't have good conflict anymore. That's why all the creativity is on YouTube. It's not on Hollywood anymore. Yeah, writing is not the premium one. So I'm going to put this back before it melts, and then I've got a real important question to ask you. But in the meantime, take some notes. Conflict, more conflict, your conflict on your story, your major story that got you to where you are. I'm going to be back and then I'm going to tell you another story. And there's no doubt that there are several stories that led you to this point. But here's a little something about me. By the way, never begin your presentation with that sentence. Let me tell you a little something about myself. But there's a story that embodies why I do what I do. And I'm thinking about getting in my car. And you got to wonder, is there a more satisfying moment in your day than the minute you get in the car to go home from work? Back when you actually used to drive to work, think about that. That door hits home. It's over. On the day when everything changed, I still remember that moment. When I think about it, I can still feel the breeze in my face as I put that car window down. I can still see the sun setting in my rearview mirror. And I can still hear the voice of the bank manager when she said, "Mike, in light of your recent work performance, the company has decided to terminate your employment." Did I just get fired? I didn't see that one coming. And to me, it was a shock. But to her, it was a victory. We never got along. In fact, she's not even the person who hired me. So she might have sounded like a dignified manager when she said, "Terminate your employment." The look, the look on her face. If you've ever worked for the Grinch, you know that look. That look that says, "I finally got you. You bum." As you can imagine, I had a lot of questions on my mind as I drove home in my brand new Ford Fusion that I had just bought to celebrate getting my first job after graduating from college. What did I do wrong? Where am I going to work now? What's the blue book value on this car I just bought? Now that was the real defeat. Not only losing my job, but taking the job to begin with. I mean, caring so much about a car payment that I was willing to give up so many passions in my life. Take the abuse of an overbearing, ungrateful branch manager just for the sake of a steady paycheck. Now the paycheck is gone. You ever felt like you sold your soul? got nothing for it? Okay, we'll cut it off right there. What's the initial conflict of that story? You can turn off your microphone and answer that one if you want. What's the initial conflict of that story? Okay, I'll say it for you. Getting fired, losing the job. That's the initial inconvenience. No, 2 times to do any of the job. Yeah, Nicole, exactly. I tell you, yeah, you've been lied to. If you went to college thinking I'm gonna walk across this stage with a diploma and a job and a happily ever after, sorry, you've been lied to. Good news, you're college educated. You're smart enough to figure out what to do next.
That's a
The
good
initial
viewpoint.
conflict is losing my job. The elevated conflict is what?
Now I have a car payment. What am I doing next?
I got 58 car payments left on this 5-year bad boy, and I'm not capable of earning university level wages anymore. Frat party's not where I went to school. That was felonious stuff. I went to one frat party at my room. Oh, never again. Dragged my roommate out at 6 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, now the best part of me was getting that economics degree, saying I'm going to take on the world of finance now, and getting fired from the bank within 4 months. But the internal conflict is, why did I give up? I had this passion for fitness, and I was working in the fitness industry, but now I have an economics degree. I'm too good for that. And it just about cost me everything. I'm going to give you the short version of what happened. I went back to the gym, got a job as a personal trainer, gave up the prestige, but being a personal trainer got me a job at an institute, a career institute, teaching personal training to other people who want to enter the industry. And that led to my passion for teaching, which led me down here to Peru, where I teach English as a foreign language. And teaching English as a foreign language is what led me to speech coaching. If I can teach stubborn Peruvian teenagers how to conjugate verbs, I can teach stubborn business owners how to tell their own backstory. But I do have to call you out as to why you are telling your story. This is the moment of truth for you. Okay, why are you telling this story? I see a lot of people in this space telling that story for themselves because it's therapy. They use that stage as a therapy session. Now, there is a place for that. If you've been through some terrible trauma and you can inspire other people to get through it, by all means do it. That's not the way to promote a business. You don't promote a business by having people take pity on you. I don't think you feel too sorry for me that I lost my job at the bank 20 years ago, maybe a little bit. Okay, you probably don't feel sorry for me that I lost the regional spelling bee. It's not about that. It's about the lesson. Why are you telling the story? There's only one reason to tell your personal story. It's not for your own gratitude. Now, last time I presented this, I said, tell me about a boxing movie. They all said Rocky. So I'm just going to give you the answer. The movie that I'm thinking of, the greatest narration in a movie that I've ever seen, is the movie $1 Million Baby, Morgan Freeman. Now, I believe Shawshank was a better movie, but the narration of $1 Million Baby is the greatest. Now, if you've ever seen the movie, it's a boxing movie. Morgan Freeman's narrating it, telling the story of Frankie. That's Clint Eastwood. He takes Maggie, that's Hilary Swank, under his wing. You find out throughout the story that Frankie is estranged from his own daughter. And that had a lot to do with why he eventually, took a liking to Maggie. He was a father figure to her. It's been over 20 years. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert, but things don't end too well. And then Frankie just disappears. He just walks away and you never see him. And Morgan Freeman's in the gym at night, writing a letter as he narrates the story. And the last thing that he says is, this is the most powerful closing line I've ever seen in a movie. The line is, I thought you should know what kind of a man your father really was. The whole time he's telling this story, he is addressing it to one person, Frankie's daughter. I thought you should know what kind of a man your father really was. Imagine how that audience feels. When you're telling a story just to entertain, to share some lessons, in the end, the purpose of the story is because me, sitting in this audience among hundreds of people, this was meant for me alone. And that is what we call the U-turn. When I finish my story about the bank, are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing well. Real simple. I got another job, paid approximately what the bank paid. Structure was different. I paid off my car a year ahead of time. Okay, there's the resolution of those two conflicts, but the internal conflict. I walked across the stage at Radio City Music Hall with my master's degree in guidance counseling. Around the same time, I handed over a check for the last payment on my Ford Fusion. But there's still a problem. I hand over a check. I'm not thinking about the success. I'm thinking about the bank and being a failure. I took to the only therapy that I knew, which was putting on my running shoes and going. Being in the fitness industry inspired me to keep that up. And started with 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons after a short trip in an ambulance and one race, finally crossed the finish line of the Baltimore Marathon in a pro football stadium named after the same bank that had fired me 5 years earlier. When she fired me, she had that look that said, I finally got you. On that day, I took my medal and I looked up at that corporate logo and I said, I got you back. Now, I take no pleasure in talking about my days working at the bank, but it's worth it. It's worth it if it helps you discover that the day that changes your life very well may be a day that you do not want to remember. It might be a day when its greatest moment is watching the sunset in your rearview mirror while you think about somebody who tried to make you feel worthless. But I promise you, it will be a day when you make that decision to go back and get it back. Whatever you gave up in pursuit of some goal turned out to not mean a whole lot. Go back and get it back. Now let's stop right there. That is the U-turn. I'm not telling this story to talk about what it's like to work in a bank and run a marathon and all these things. I'm telling this, it's painful for me to relive that memory. I'm telling it because I want you to know that the day that changes your life is this. And that is what we call the U-turn. Does your story have that U-turn where you put the focus on them, you talk about them, and the reason why I'm telling you this story, because I don't want this to happen to you. That the whole time I'm telling the story, you are the main character. You as the speaker, you can be the main character in your story. The audience must be the main character in your speech. And that is your U-turn. It's a whole lot better than putting up bodybuilding pics and say, aren't I so sexy? Now, the solution to the conflict in the story is the same solution you offer in your business. In the case of the bank story, it doesn't work super well in promoting speech coaching, but I do have other stories for that because the solution is to go running. Well, the solution is to recapture yourself, and there's a part of that in speech coaching. Because part of being coached as a speaker is to clarify what you actually do. But there are better stories, but that's my best example of the U-turn. All right, as we wrap up, let's review what we've covered today. Okay, number one is selecting the right stories. It's not always, your story of your triumph, your big triumph, you've got to earn that. That comes at the end of a presentation when you're telling that audience, this is why I'm doing it for you. We've also covered elevating and sequencing the conflict. And we've also covered the U-turn. Now, this is something I'd like to open the chat for. Which of these ideas resonates the most with you? And please don't say all of them. I mean, I appreciate it, but come on. Of these 3 points, what has made the biggest difference for you? Light up that chat. Turn the focus. Okay. Good. Glad to see that. You don't see a lot of stories that have that. So here's what's got to happen next. Okay. You got two choices from here. Move on to better storytelling where you're choosing the right stories. You're elevating and sequencing that conflict the right way, not just saying this sucked, then I fixed it at the end, hire me, right? Or a whole lot of nada. Putting up the Wikipedia version of your life story and a whole bunch of pictures of yourself accomplishing stuff that nobody understands. I do want to tell you, and shut off the share for a second. Now, Morgan Freeman's character in that movie, $1 Million Baby, his name is Eddie Scrap Iron Dupree. I love the name Scrap Iron. I'm on a mission as a speaking coach to shatter this fake hierarchy that says that perfect, polished, refined presentations are the pinnacle of public speaking. That's why I take a lot of cheap shots at TED Talks, because every word is scripted, every movement is staged. I'm tired of being told that corporate presentations are the best, or these Academy Award acceptance speeches. If I want world peace for all the children, I'm tired of that being the pinnacle of speaking. My speaking idols are prisoners and professional wrestlers. I grew up in the 80s. I'll take Jake the Snake cutting a promo on a Saturday morning ahead of any business thought leader. I'll take the lineup of convicts in Rahway State Prison, the original Scared Straight documentary, ahead of anybody who speaks up as a community leader. And you know what? Mr. Rogers addressing the U.S. Senate in 1969. There's Jake who put that up. Oh, Nicole, you're awesome. You had a Jake the Snake gift waiting for me. But you know what? Mr. Rogers addressing the U.S. Senate wasn't trying to impress anybody. There he is, May 1st, 1969. We just passed the anniversary of that. In 6 minutes, he melted that center and got himself got $20 million for public funding for public broadcasting after Nixon wanted to get rid of it. Those are the speeches, the raw, the real emotion. And that's why I have created, let me get back to my screen share. That's why I've created Scrap Iron Storytelling, named after Eddie Scrap Iron Dupree. And yes, it's a picture of me. And in case you didn't notice, I look exactly like I do in that picture right now. If you don't think so, it's the lighting.
Are you gonna do you have a link you can drop for this? And then I will make sure and share that
Coming right up.
in the
Here are the
replay.
details. Thursday, June 11th from 12 to 3 p.m. Okay, build your portfolio, raise the temperature, move the audience to action. Everything we touched upon, we're going to do it in real time. And there's the QR code. I am going to put the actual link in the chat in just a moment.
All right. And will you make sure too that I also get an evergreen something from you?
Absolutely.
With all the replays.
Coming up. Now, listen, this is $47. You ready to do this? Follow the QR and sign up now. But wait, there's more. I want to make sure you get some bonuses with this too. Okay, the storytelling workshop. If that doesn't generate $500 for your business, I don't know what to tell you. Okay, there's also another video, storytelling through setting. We haven't gone into storytelling elements much, but how to use the visual element. Okay, I keep my slides to a minimum. The big misconception is that slides cater to visual learners. They don't. Telling stories that are visual in nature is how you do that. You get an additional unit on that. You also get the extraordinary story call. This is for people present today. That story you've been dying to tell, the guacamole story, the spelling bee story, that is your extraordinary story. You get a call, we work it out, and you will have that story to weave into your next presentation. And you also get the essentials of storytelling. I have partnered with my speaking mentor, Craig Valentine. He was the 1999 world champion of public speaking. He is Les Brown's favorite speaking coach. First heard him on a CD over 20 years ago. I said, God help everybody if we ever meet. But Craig and I have become colleagues, become friends. He's a a mentor to me, and we're also partners on this product. And that goes for $50, which is cheap, but what can I say? Craig and I are not trying to get rich on that. All this value together, okay, about $944, but you get it for $47.
That is a great deal, everybody. When he go ahead, well, he changed the QR code. Go ahead and jump on the
Let me
link.
put I'm going to put the link in the chat. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. Let me just go
All
grab that
right. And
really
while you're
fast.
grabbing that, I'm going to dive into our three signature questions. So you can think about this while you're grabbing that link. I want to know what's one thing everyone in your industry is doing that you think is complete BS, and why are they still doing it?
Well, that's what I started my presentation off with. That's perfect.
Yeah. So bring us back to it. What's the one
Okay,
thing
yeah,
everyone's doing that? And yeah, well,
yeah.
we're
Well, that
not,
was
what we did know is we're not going to start with, let me tell you a little bit about myself.
yeah. Your personal story of triumph and what motivates you. You gotta earn that. You want to talk about you and hey, damn, I'm good and I'm so great and that you've got to earn that. Your story of a big triumph and what led you. You say, let me show you my why. Well, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows that you care about the audience. The acronym I use, and it's a separate presentation from this one, is AMY. That's AMY, Audience, Material, Yourself. Tap into the audience. It's the first thing I said to you today. You started a business because something terrible happened in your professional life. Then material, gave you something of value. The Wi-Fi cuts out right now. You'll be able to take this with you. Give a better presentation today. And then when you've earned it, you get to tell your own story. Here's the promo page for that. You can follow the link and then you can register. Then I will
Perfect.
send you the Zoom link on June 11th. I'm just saying, if you're not available at that time, you get 5 people who pay. I will set up a separate exclusive time just for you if you get
That's
5
awesome.
people.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so Mike, what's a mistake you made that cost you serious money or time that you kept making anyways because you were too proud or too scared to admit that it wasn't working?
I know you want to leave me, but okay. I told you about the fitness world, right?
Yep.
When I started this, the name of my business was Fit Presenter, teaching public speaking skills for the fitness industry. I still believe in it. I still believe if you work in fitness, if you have a facility, that facility is a ready-made speaking venue. A little too tight of a niche, and the fitness industry is a place where everybody knows everything. And my idea has been stolen so many times. That's a but anyway, I didn't want to let it go. And really, it came from I would say traumatic, but an unfortunate experience why I left the fitness industry. Somebody was groping my clients, and when I spoke up about it, I was read the third degree. I was really pissed. And my motivation for doing it was to get revenge on people. I didn't realize it. I didn't understand that I had a negative reason, motivation for doing it. And you know what? You know what did it? You know why I changed Fit Presenter to Scrap Iron? My website crashed. That happened a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, damn it, I guess it's time. It's time to move on. I didn't want to let go of the fitness industry because I wanted to keep on succeeding in that industry where really the people who rely on me are in other industries.
I love that. I love that. Okay, are you ready for one last question?
Sure.
If you can give one and only one piece of advice to someone in your industry, but it would go completely against the grain, what would it be?
In my industry, as far as other
Your
speaking
industry.
coaches,
So you're going to give advice to someone like you.
okay. Well, somebody who's a solopreneur. Okay.
Okay.
I would say, oh God, it's just one, huh? All righty. Listen, protect yourself. When you meet people I had no idea what a power play it is. Some people are like you, Colleen. Some people are like Holly, just decent people who want to help each other. There is such a tippy toes tinkling contest to be superior to the other. And it's usually comes in 3 forms. Sometimes you get the steamrollers. You have to buy my stuff right now. Those people are easy to walk away from. But you also get the patronizers. I don't quite understand what you do. People are always jockeying to be superior to you. You do not owe an explanation to anybody. If people say, I don't understand what you do exactly, can you explain it? They're patronizing you to put you down. And I have gone through that song and dance so many times of people just trying to make you talk, just to make you feel subordinate to them. There are no subordinates in this world. I don't care if you're a brand new upstart with spare change in your pocket talking to a billionaire. There are no subordinates in this world. Don't let anybody put you down, make you feel lesser. And that's really what it came back to the beginning. I have a book, you don't. I have a TED talk, you don't. Look at these muscles, you don't have them. People are always trying to jockey to put themselves superior to you. They are not.
I love that. And so I'm just going to share this little note. I don't know if you can read it or if it's backwards. It says,
Uh,
if it makes you happy, it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else.
well, that
I,
gets a heart emoji. I hope it sparkles. There it is. Okay.
That is right there on my desk. I keep it there all the time. And so this has been Monday Morning Business Foreplay. Big, huge thank you to Mike. I appreciate everything you shared. I did take copious notes and I will be going back over the replay as well. If today's conversation has helped you to see something differently, to make one clearer decision, or to take one meaningful step forward, then it has done exactly what it was meant to do. And momentum beats motivation every time. Thank you, Mike, for this experience and for your perspective. I hope everybody found this helpful. I would love to have you join us again next week for Monday Morning Business Foreplay.